The DMV Hoops Podcast.
This is Jonathan Scribner, head girls basketball coach at St. John's College High School, and this is the DMV Hoops Podcast.
Welcome to the DMV Hoops Podcast. This is Kurt Cross, your host. Alongside me is Paula P. She's been with me all day, and we are here at DMV Live on the campus of DeMatha Catholic High School in Hyattsville, Maryland. We've had games all day. We've had players. We've had coaches on the podcast, and now we have none other than Our Lady of Mount Carmel. I've always called him Mount Carmel, but Mount Carmel, Coach Tony Martin. Thank you, Coach, for joining us.
My pleasure. I want half of your energy.
Oh, man. Well, I'll tell you where I get the energy from. I coached girls, high school, and college basketball for 24 years. I've been done for about 13, so the energy's back.
Keep you young.
The energy is back now. The energy is back. Coach, you just had a 46-37 win. I would like to say I don't believe the score was as close as the final score, but you're at Mount Carmel. That's a storied program. What brings you to, other than the obvious, let me not say what brings you. Why is DMV Live so important to you?
It's an opportunity to showcase high school kids in their high school team setting in front of some of the best coaches in the country and the region. So it's an opportunity for us to give these guys a platform and a format that differs from AAU, both of which are valuable these days.
Absolutely, and it's a tremendous opportunity for the players. Not only is it on the 84x50, but it teaches these young men how to travel, how to deal with media, how to deal with everything that may be ahead for a lot of these young men. So thank you for teaching them that and guiding that.
Thank you.
We know that for some players, the ball stops bouncing sooner rather than later. What are we doing at your school? How do you prepare those young people outside of the life of basketball?
It's interesting. We have a rising senior that has multiple offers, and in the portal world, that's very unusual, some of which are coming from the Ivies. And I explained to him, I said, hey, you may not think Ivy is the level you want to go to, but you'll be one of those Magic Johnsons. You'll be Shaq owning Reebok. You'll do anything you want to do coming from an Ivy. So we try to educate them at all levels, like you said. Social skills, which is sometimes lacking in this day and age.
Right.
Catholic education, having a faith base, and certainly everything up to honors and AP courses in the classroom. So he and many of our guys are extremely strong students, and that definitely helps them. Well,
we can appreciate that because I think there's more to basketball than basketball. And like you said, we have to shape them to be fine young men, contribute to society, be fine husbands and brothers and fathers and friends and maybe sit in your seat one day and lead other young men. That's
Absolutely.
super important. 34-4 last season. I don't put coaches on the hot seat. Talk to me though about how do you feel about next season?
We have to not live in last year's house. We have got to reinvent, who we're going to be. It's a really good opportunity right now. We're playing a lot of young guys that really do not know the plays, do not know the system. We're without 2 or 3 of our top players right now.
Okay.
And so we're throwing the puppies into the wolves.
All right. So how young are we this year? How old are we? Do we have senior leadership? What do we have?
So when we're healthy and whole, we have a very strong rising senior class. We only graduated 2 from last year. So you would think we would come back as strong as ever. But again, there's a large gap between these younger guys coming in when you're missing the seniors. And so it's an opportunity for them to take advantage of this DMV Live experience.
So outside of DMV Live, I assume, Paula, do you want to ask it? I assume outside of DMV Live, they're playing a summer schedule, right? So.
Right. So what do you want the guys to accomplish with their team in Summer League?
So interestingly, this is the first summer of the 3 years I've been here. I was down in Carolina for 7 years, became a granddad, came back.
Congratulations.
Hey, that's a big deal. Thank you so much. But we did not play in the Summer League this year. They're all playing high-level, shoe-sponsored AAU circuit, and they're seeing trainers, and they're doing strength and conditioning. So, these kids need to have some balance to it all. But we did do a couple other events, and we fared extremely well in those. So not a pure Summer League, just isolated events.
Nice.
Just so you know, you're sitting next to a 500-win coach.
Oh, congratulations.
No.
What a golf blows. I thought you were talking about
No, she has 500 wins as a mom.
That's the best.
I'll give her that.
I love my mom.
Coach, you and I have both coached. You're still in the game. I'm not in the game. You've been in long enough that how have you seen this evolution? What has changed? Years ago, for me, I did not coach at a high-level school. We were a 3A school in Montgomery County, Maryland here. A big enough school, but we didn't have 2,500 students. None of my players, none of the young ladies I coached were going to go to play D1. So, we did things a little bit differently. And you could, I remember the first team I had, I gave them the Phil Jackson book, Sacred Hoops. I had them read it. That team happened to go undefeated. We meditated before every game. It's a different game now. How do you have to approach it now versus 20 years ago?
Well, it's interesting you talk about meditating, Phil Jackson. I probably spent more time with this generation in a timeout in a heated game talking about mindfulness breathing.
Okay.
And being able to get these kids to recalibrate because they get in their heads so much.
Yeah.
I think Adam Silver, NBA commissioner, said it best. We're in an era with the most talented, skilled, offensive athletes we've ever seen in our lives. But yet there are certain fundamental foundational building blocks in their game that are missing, in particular on the defensive end and between the ears sometimes.
Right.
So we try to spread a little old school with the new school.
Okay. Well, and I've seen a lot of coaches. Unfortunately, one of our NBA coaches, Tibbs, I think his old school thing is not surviving so well right now. I'm a big Tibbs fan, by the way. I'm a big Lakers fan, and we just got sold, so I'm excited what's going to happen there. But so you're one of the coaches who can still do that. A lot of coaches I've heard, and by the way, we're in between games. That's why you don't hear anything happening. But we're about to start the next one. I'm hearing from a lot of coaches that they do have to approach it differently than they did before. These kids don't want old school. They don't want defense. They don't want to run. We have to call them line touches now. We used to call them suicides. They don't want to do so much of that. How are you able to do the old and the new? The kids are listening to you. I think, honestly, without you having to say it yourself, the record, I think they respect your resume, so you're going to get their ear. But it's a challenge for newer coaches to be that old school coach. How do you do it?
It's a big challenge, and I have some young coaches that I'm mentoring now, and I'm pouring into them so they can be the next generation. You mentioned Tibbs. One of my former student athletes, Emmanuel Quickly, played for the New York Knicks.
I know that name.
Tibbs. And so I coached Emmanuel since he was about knee-high. I coached him in high school before I went to North Carolina, went south. But anyway, Emmanuel came back, and he spoke to my team the first year of Summer League 2 years ago. And he said this to him. He said, the same thing Calipari taught me at Kentucky, the same things Tibbs is preaching with the New York Knicks, Coach Martin taught me. And I don't do that to pat myself on the back. I learned from some of the best coaches, Coach Ray Mullis, Hall of Fame coach at Cardinal Gibbons. And so we do defend, and we do make them play defense the old school way. We historically have held some of the number 1, 2, 3 teams in the country to their historic lows. We beat DeMatha here at DMV Live, and I think they only scored 40 last year. And that's an honor because DeMatha is a legendary program, which we have great respect. So I do feel there are some ways I do have to treat them differently in terms of how I don't raise my voice as much. I'm really connecting them with human beings. I'm really trying to get them to center themselves. But in terms of my expectations and demands, they don't change.
Go ahead.
Let's take basketball away for a second. I know, living without basketball. Is that possible? What do you do when you take basketball out of your repertoire for a few minutes?
Well,
is that possible?
I don't want this to go into a side south note, but I have dealt with some health issues. I used to be doing fitness classes with 20-year-olds and competing at a very high level. Well, I had some health issues this past year. And a lot of people didn't think I would make it through the season. So I'm looking pretty normal now. But that said, basketball carried me through some of the toughest times ever. It's the greatest distraction, the greatest thing that it's been in my life outside of family. But if you took it away, I don't know. I don't
Other
know
hobbies?
what I do. Working out,
playing
sports. I used to dance on 2 TV shows.
Wait.
Yeah, Shakedown in Baltimore and one in Philadelphia. You can find some old YouTube clips.
All right,
I have hair and a mustache.
All right, we're gonna look them up.
Coach, you said that you had some health issues. I just need you to know that means that he wasn't done with you.
God
he wasn't
bless.
done with you. He kept you here.
God bless. There's a reason.
Now, when he's done with you, he's going to call you home.
It's okay.
He wasn't done with you.
I got some friends there.
He wasn't done with you. I can't imagine life without basketball either. I did not play at a high level. I did not. So I coached for a while. And just so you know, you're also looking at a Defensive Player of the Year for her team. at her high school last
This is
year.
a sharp young lady, by the way.
Well, we tried to raise her that way.
She asked to interview Tristan Wilson, who played really well, and I used the term Wilson, and that reference in the movies. She knew exactly who it was, a volleyball Tom Hanks.
Okay.
She's sharp.
All right. Well, that's our daughter. We love her to death.
Oh, that's your daughter?
Yeah, that's our daughter.
Oh,
She's a
God bless
rising
you,
senior.
bud. She's a winner.
Yeah, she's a rising senior. So we're at DMV Live. All of this is exciting. Are you going to play tomorrow? You play tonight? Or
We play this afternoon, and it'll be done until next weekend. So we have one more. We're 3-0 and big challenge ahead.
All right. Who you got coming up? Can we talk
Gillian.
about?
They used to be West Oaks in Florida.
Yes,
They're now
okay.
in Virginia. Yep, they got the 7-footer.
You got to deal with that, huh?
That's a large man. I coached a 7-foot, 360-pound kid, so I'm used to it. Yeah.
Oh, man. So why should, other than the obvious reasons, your resume, the history of the program, and all of that, why should someone find themselves up in Baltimore watching y'all play next year?
I think we represent the best of student athletes this day. I think when we go to other gyms, we get the respect from the athletic directors of how we handle ourselves with the right comportment. Our kids are true student athletes. They're in college prep situations. So you're getting a well-rounded young man that you spoke about. You're not just getting a basketball player.
I see Spalding on here.
Yeah.
I see Spalding now. The coach there now. Give me his name. I can't remember.
Josh Pratt.
I just met him the other. He was on a podcast I had like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
He came over and introduced himself because I talked to him on the podcast. I never met him. Now, so you know Coach Steve Turner?
I know Steve.
That is my very good friend. Him and I started a podcast 5 years ago, and that's where I met Coach Pratt on that podcast.
Steve's a brilliant coach. Josh is an outstanding coach. Yeah, I took over Spalding, and Josh, ironically, was part of the staff that took over when I left to go coach Division I.
Okay, all right. Now, Carroll, I see Carroll on here. What Carroll?
John Carroll. And
John Carroll, not Archbishop. Okay.
Yeah,
I see Carroll. I'm like, did my man coach down here in D.C.? Because I know Carroll.
We just played Archbishop Carroll in a May event. Yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay. Well, you know this area is rich in basketball. Those down here would say D.C.'s better than the Baltimore region and vice versa. And there's also a lacrosse battle between this area and the Baltimore area. Thank you for what you do for the game. Thank you for, bringing dreams to these young men. Those who can really bounce the ball and those who maybe there's a challenge and you have to work with them and develop them. But it's through basketball that I think you're building young men. You're making men of faith. And that's so very important.
I appreciate that.
So look, this is the DMV Hoops Podcast. So happy to have Coach Martin from Our Lady. I'm not used to saying Our Lady. It's just Mount Carmel. That's all I've ever said. But thank you.
They both work.
They both work. Coach, we're going to see you during the season at some point, I hope. This is the DMV Podcast. Thanks for listening, folks.
Take care.
The DMV Hoops Podcast is hosted by Kirk Cross, featuring Adam Crain. Thanks for listening.